Welcome to Across Africa, our weekly roundup of stories from across the continent. I'm Georgia Calvin-Smith, and coming up, although Mauritius is banking on a €500 million revamp of its railway network to take some pressure off its congested urban roads, there are concerns that the cost to the country's poorer communities may be too great. Also, we meet Robert Katende, the Ugandan chess enthusiast who set up a project teaching special needs children how to play the board game and develop solid strategies for life. And Triggerfish hooks in audiences with its output. The South African studio is breaking new ground in locally created animation with African-centered stories. But first, traffic can be terrible in Mauritius, and in a bid to get a move on the problem, a light rail public transport system is currently under construction. Though it will eventually connect the country's 5 major cities, communities are being broken up as people are kicked off their land to make way for the railway tracks. It also costs about €500 million, and some are questioning how viable the colossal project is for the small developing country. Our correspondents report.
Work has already begun on the country's biggest ever infrastructure project. To modernise the transport system, building works taking place simultaneously at 32 different sites. With a quarter of the island under construction, the main priority is connecting cities.
The stakes are enormous. This project plans to connect the 5 cities of the country. It's the biggest project financially, costing €500 million. And in terms of transport network, it will link urban municipalities.
700,000 inhabitants, a little more than half of the island's population, will be impacted. A construction project this big has never been seen before in Mauritius, and for many residents, it's disrupting their lives. 100 properties lie on the path of the 26-kilometre route of the tramway. Here, on the hills looking down over the capital, homes were seized by the government.
Now when I come here, it's just bad memories. I'm heartbroken. I am now unemployed, my business was there. It was valuable once. Now I have nothing. The government hasn't compensated me.
Questions about the Metro Express project's environmental impact and economic viability have also been raised. Some critics warn the undertaking is expensive and unsuitable for the country.
In a developing country, cars are a sign of social success. I don't think people will leave their cars to travel by metro. You know, we only have 2 rush hours in the morning and 2 rush hours in the afternoon.
The project's been funded by an Indian donation, and authorities claim Singaporean experts approved a feasibility study and found it viable. The Metro Express is supposed to reduce traffic jams that cost the Mauritian economy more than €100 million per year.
There will be stations, the urban terminal, all along the line, like in all countries around the world. There will be developments all along the route. In terms of operation, we'll be in profit from 2021-2022.
Phase 1 of the Metro Express is due to be operational by September and promises to upgrade the island's current transport facilities. It will link the country's 2 largest cities of Rose Hill and Port Louis.
Robert Katende is a chess enthusiast who founded a chess academy in Kampala back in 2004. Over the years, it's helped disadvantaged and special needs kids learn how to play the board game and develop solid strategies to take them through life. Laurent Berstecker has the story.
Sharif Wazwa Mbazira was 6 months old when he contracted polio. The disease limited movements in his limbs, making him severely disabled. In 2014, he discovered the Som Chess Academy in Kampala and was introduced to the game that changed his life.
Before I started to play chess, at home they were not believing me. They were knowing I'm disabled completely. And for me, I said, okay, you believe what you know, but for me, I believe in myself.
In 2018, Mbazira became the first Ugandan with a disability to represent his country in an international chess tournament, and he came back with a medal.
That's how my life changed. Now I go to school without any problem. I do what I want because of that chess.
Robert Katende founded the academy in 2004. Much more than a simple game, he sees chess as a way to teach patience and critical thinking, as well as to build up self-esteem.
The way the kids are growing up, they have not been given an opportunity to be self-reliant, to take personal decisions. The philosophy of Som Chess Academy and the Robert Katende Initiative basically is to use chess as a platform to instill these concepts into the lives of these kids.
The Academy was featured in the 2016 Hollywood movie Queen of Katwe. It tells the real-life story of Fiona Mutezi, a young girl who grew up in the slums of Kampala and who ended up playing on the Ugandan chess team in the 2010 Olympics.
A rise in jihadist attacks has led Togo and Benin to ramp up security along their borders with Burkina Faso. The concerns could affect the number of visitors to a Beninese wildlife reserve that attracts thousands of tourists a year. Our correspondents report.
This nature sanctuary stretches over nearly 5,000 square kilometres, nearly 50 times the city of Paris. Penjari Park is the Beninese section of the largest wildlife reserve in West Africa. It extends to Niger and Burkina Faso.
On the other side, it's Burkina Faso. We're trying to secure it so that people don't cross over here.
Surveillance measures have been stepped up since terror threats have increased and gotten closer, and especially since the other side of the river has been classified as a red zone by Western governments.
We're here to stop poaching and any other threat that may happen.
Ground patrols are reinforced with aerial surveillance. However, tourists haven't yet been put off by the risks. Thousands of wildlife lovers continue to flock here.
We come from France, and unfortunately France has been affected. Many people have taken on the view that we must keep on living.
African Parks, an NGO specialising in the conservation of protected areas, has run the sanctuary since 2017. All monitoring operations are supervised in real time from this control room.
The park is managed better than ever. It's probably the most protected border in the entire region. Of course, there's a great threat in northern Burkina Faso on the border with Mali. But we think that what's happening in the southeast of Burkina Faso is the same old banditry that got a makeover.
Communities living around the park have been instructed to report any foreign presence. Here at Materi, Burkina Faso lies about 20 kilometres away down this track. Using human intelligence or informers is essential.
We have installed a civil security system in several areas to keep watch for the security units along the corridor.
Authorities from both sides of the border are currently in talks after Porto Novo asked its neighbour to allow Beninese park rangers to expand their circuits. To strengthen border security, they're hoping to be allowed to patrol a 10-kilometre stretch inside Burkina Faso.
Triggerfish has raced ahead in the continent's design and graphics industry. The South African studio is breaking new ground in locally created animation with a focus on African-inspired stories. It's clearly impressing the right people, as last year one of its films was nominated for Best Animated Short at the Oscars. Nicolas Chemin has more.
The film Adventures of Zambezia was produced in 2012 by Triggerfish Animation Studios, which is based in Cape Town. It made over $34 million at the box office and cemented the company as a trailblazer in African animation movies.
A lot of the content we do get that does get produced in this medium is very Eurocentric and quite Western, and I think there's definitely a big value in diversifying that content in this industry.
Last year, its movie Revolting Rhymes was nominated for Best Animated Short Film at the Oscars. The company is also in the process of establishing its own academy. The aim is to teach and sponsor young people who would not have had the means to follow a career path in animation.
I think animation is the kind of grandest type of storytelling. So you can do anything. It's whatever you can imagine, you can create, and you can use metaphor and talking animals, and so it's just it's a great way to communicate, because you can bring across stories that can't be told in any other way.
Triggerfish recently moved into the gaming industry. It also wants to become a player in that other budding South African market.
African women have been adding their voices to the Me Too movement in calling out sexual harassment. Under the banner of the Même pas peur, or Not Even Afraid, Francophone activists at the recent FESPACO Film Festival used the platform to speak out against harassment in the movie industry. Their position is being echoed across the continent. Our correspondents tell us more from Ivory Coast.
It's the dress rehearsal for these amateur actresses. They're hoping to do justice to the now world-famous theatre piece, The Vagina Monologues, which has come to be seen as a pillar of feminism.
Ma mini-jupe n'est pas un laissez-passer pour me violer. Même si dans le temps tu le fais, maintenant ça vaut que dalle.
The takings from the performance will be donated to a collective that's combating sexual abuse. The group is called Stop the Black Cat, with Black Cat in Ivory Coast referring to men who enter into a woman's room at night, typically a domestic servant, with the aim of having sex. It appears to be a common occurrence, though seldom talked about.
Through the Stop the Black Cat project and play, we're trying to break down barriers and taboos. These are things that we don't really discuss in African cultures, so we're trying to talk about them more openly and say that these things happen to everyone.
It's a sensitive subject to broach on the streets of Abidjan. Many decline to speak on camera, but all acknowledge a cultural barrier that prevents people from speaking openly about it.
The victims think that maybe if they talk about it, society is going to find it ridiculous and people will mock them.
Imagine if it's a married man who does this to a domestic worker who lives in the house. She'd be accused of being a liar, that she's trying to destroy the family. That's the African way of thinking.
This woman was 11 when she was first assaulted at night by someone known to her.
I told everyone. I even told them that he'd put his finger inside me. And my father said nothing and went back to bed. In fact, because he said nothing, others thought it was fine to do it as well.
The assaults continued for 4 years until she ran away from home. She's getting over the experience, though has never brought charges. As is the case in many parts of the world, women here see little point. It's a feeling confirmed by figures from a 2016 UN report. In Ivory Coast, less than 20% of rape charges result in a conviction.
Well, that's it for Across Africa for now. Thanks for joining us, and do so again if you can. Take care.